Hey guys, welcome back once again. This is Srikanth Rathod, your virtual trainer. In this video, I'm going to discuss a brief about number systems. And these are the topic of the today's class. So let's go one by one. In general, numbers are of two types. One is called imaginary numbers, and other type is called real numbers. Right, let's see what these are. Any number multiplied by I, the imaginary unit, are called imaginary numbers. So the value of I is the square root of -1, and any number which are multiplied by I, those are called imaginary numbers. So example, I can say square root of -10, it's called an imaginary number. So why I'm saying it's an imaginary number? Because square root of -10, this can be simplified as, I can write it as root of 10 times root of -1, right? So this is further written as root of 10 times, and we know that the value of root of -1 is I. As we say, the square root of 10 is multiplied by imaginary unit. That's the reason we say the square root of -10 is imaginary number. In general, any number with square root as negative. So any number with a square root of negative are imaginary numbers. Okay, all right. Imaginary numbers are opposite to the real number. We'll see what these are, and are not a part of our everyday life. So these types of math concepts are discussed in very advanced math. It's like engineering, or if you're taking the higher courses in mathematics. As per the competitive exam concern, you need to have a brief idea about the imaginary numbers when you are taking SAT or ACT. But if you are appearing for any exams like GMAT, GRE, nothing to do with imaginary, because these GMAT, GRE, CAT, these kind of exams are mainly focusing on the real numbers. They won't include the imaginary numbers. Okay, so let's say real numbers. Any number which exists on a number line. If I draw a number line, I can represent infinite numbers on the number line, including positive, zero, and negative. And all the number which can be represented on the number line are called real numbers. So -2, -3, and so on. This number, if I'm talking about somewhere over here, this is 0.5. This type of representation, we say the decimal. If point includes between the ending number, it's called decimal. If I'm representing somewhere over here 3/2, this type of representation we say fractional, or we can also say the rational. Let's take another thing. Example, if I'm choosing the some value somewhere over here, the value here it's gonna be pi, that is 22/7, or it's equivalent to 3.142 something, right? Isn't it? So this is 3.142 something. This type of representation we say irrational numbers, and so on. So all the number whichever has represented on the number lines, these are called integers. I can specify negative integer, positive integer, even numbers, so the multiples of 2, that is -2, 0, 2, these all are called even numbers. And the numbers which are not multiples of 2, like -3, -1, 1, etc., these all are called odd numbers. So in general, the number which all can be expressed on the number line are called real numbers. Real numbers are a combined group of rational and irrational. As I told, so the rational and the irrational numbers are also represented on the number line. The real numbers are further divided into a two part, that is the rational and irrational. Now let's see what these are. Numbers which can be expressed as a fraction whose top, that is the numerator, and the bottom, that is the denominator, are both integers. Example, any number which is represented in the form p by q provided q is not equal to 0. Representing the number in this form is called a rational representation. The top numbers are called numerator and the bottom one, it's called the denominator. Okay, this representation we say the rational representation. Irrational number which can't be expressed as a fraction whose top, that is the numerator, and the bottom, that is denominator, are integers. Even though numerator and the denominator here are integers, but those number can't be expressed as a fraction. So now tell me, when we can say the number can't be expressed as the fraction, it means when you, let's take an example. The best example for the irrational number is pi, and its value is 22 by 7, isn't it? And this is equivalent to approximately 3.142375271 something, it goes till infinity. Now look, after decimal point, these numbers are non-repeating decimal. Non-repeating decimal means after the decimal, let's take an example, after the decimal point we got like 3.1, like 0.142. If the numbers are repeating like 0.142, like 3.142, 142, 142, 142, it means like the fixed number of digits are repeating. If the fixed number of digits are repeating, such numbers are called rational again. But after the decimal point, if the numbers are not repeating, the numbers are appearing in the random, such numbers are said to be an irrational number. The best example what we can take here is 22 by 7, that's the pi, isn't it? So in general, you know, square root of non-perfect square numbers all turns to be an irrational. So square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 5, square root of 7, and square root of 6, yeah, I can say these all are irrational numbers, right? Now my question here is, let's take an example. 10 divided by 3. This is what I am representing. 10 divided by 3, it's equivalent to, in the decimal representation we say the 3.333333 something. So now look at here, after the decimal point, a fixed digit, that is the digit 3, is repeating till infinity. Repeating, or we can also say the recurring. Okay, recurring till infinity. So now this is said to be a rational number. The numbers are said to be irrational if after the decimal point, if the numbers are non-repeating decimals. If the numbers are repeating decimals, they are called rational numbers. So 10 by 3 is a rational, but 22 by 7 is irrational number. Okay. Integers. Integer consists of those numbers which are multiple of 1. So any number which are multiples of 1 are called integers. So if I say, let's take negative 20, negative 1, 0, 10, 15, any number, 100, and so on. These all are called integer as these numbers are multiple of 1. Right? maybe it may be negative, 0, positive, doesn't matter. These all are multiples of 1, and they contain the no fractional or the decimal part. So there is nothing called the fraction or the decimals in that. These are a complete numbers. Non-integer, as the name suggests, non-integers are those which contains decimal or which can be represented in the fractional, like half or 0.125. These all are the examples of non-integers. Whole numbers. Whole numbers are non-negative integers. When I'm saying non-negative, so 0 is also included, because 0 is neither negative nor positive, isn't it? So that's why we say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till infinity, positive infinity. All the number which are represented are called the whole numbers. As we mentioned here, 0 is non-negative and it is neither negative nor positive. 0 is neutral. That's why the definition of whole number is a group of non-negative integers. So 0 is not a non-negative integer. That's why 0 is considered as a part of a whole number. Okay. Counting numbers. Counting numbers are the subset of whole numbers which excludes 0, right? So the subset of whole number, in general I can say all positive number excluding 0 are called counting numbers. As the name we have written here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till positive infinity. Counting numbers are also called a natural numbers. Another name to the counting numbers we can give as natural numbers, and they always start with 1. Factors and multiples. A factor is an integer that can be divided evenly into another integer. So let's take an example here. 12. This is an integer, okay? And factors are, we can say, 12 is divisible by which all the number? 12 is divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 12. So these all numbers are factors of 12. These all numbers are factors or divisor of 12, isn't it? So these all are the numbers are factors or factors, or the divisor is the same meaning of 12, right? Multiples. A multiple is a number that results from a given integer being multiplied by another integer. So what does it mean? Any number multiplied by another integer, whatever the result you are getting, that result is called multiple, right? Okay, so what does it mean? Let's take example 6. So how you can write? 6 times 1 gives you 6, 6 times 2 12, 6 times 3 18 and so on. So 6, 12, 18, these all are called multiples of 6, isn't it? Because these 6, 12, 18 got resulted when the one integer multiplied by some other integer, that is other integers, and the product of the two or more integer, what is the result we are getting? Those are called the multiples of the certain number. Okay, right. Properties of 0 and 1. These topics is really important as per the GMAT and the GRE concern, and of course if you are taking any other exams like SAT or other ACT and all, it's better to know, right? Okay, we say that the integer 0 is neither positive nor negative. If n is an any number, then n added with 0 gives you the same number itself. So adding 0 to the any number or subtracting 0 from any number, there is no change in that number. Example, I can say 2 plus 0, that my result is 2 itself. Whether you add it, or I can say 3 minus 0, my result is 3 itself. Whether you add any number to the 0 or subtract 0 from any number, it won't change the value of that number. Okay, next, any number multiplied by 0, the result is always 0, irrespective of that number is the decimal, fraction, negative or positive. Irrespective of that, any number multiplied by 0 is always turns to be 0. Example, I can say 2 multiplied by 1, sorry, 2 multiplied by 0. So this result is 0. Or we can say 3 times 2 times 0, the result is 0, irrespective how many numbers you are multiplying. If that product consists 0 in it, its result is always 0, right? Another thing, division by 0 is not defined, because we need to know here, the important point here is, I can say any number divided by 0 is undefined, or in some simple word we say it's an infinity. It does not exist. Division by 0 is undefined, so this is the, a point excluded in the GMAT and GRE. GMAT and GRE never ask you a question relating with the something divided by 0. That is the question relating about the undefined. Okay, right. Other point I would like to include here along with these three, I can say 0 by any number. 0 by any number is equivalent to 0 always. Example, I can say 0 by 5 is equivalent to 0. Okay, so any number divided by 0 is undefined or does not exist. We can also say this condition as doesn't exist, and 0 divided by any number, the result is always going to be 0. This is the reason the 0 and 1 are the very important digits in math. Properties of the integer 1. Multiplying or dividing an expression by 1 gives me, in any form, does not changes the value of that expression. Whether you are multiplying any number by 1 or dividing any number by 1, the value of that number doesn't change. Even though that number is negative, positive, decimal, fraction, its value remains the same. That's the reason 1 is called a unique number. Unique number, as its value of the number with which it is getting multiplied, or the value of the number to which it is dividing, doesn't change. That's 1 multiplied by any number, the result is 1 itself. Other thing, for any number n which is not equal to 0, n times 1 by n. So 1 by n, it's represented as the reciprocal of n. This is called the reciprocal of n. Okay, so same number multiplied by its reciprocal always results in 1. So I can say 2 times 1 by 2. So 2 and 2 just get cancelled out. The result is always gonna be 1. Got it? So this is what. So that's it for the today's class. Thank you so much for watching. So for more such videos and all, so please like and subscribe to my channel, so that you will be knowing whenever I upload the new topics relating with this. Thank you so much.